Hello and welcome to CJK Fire and Safety Education. For those who don't know me, my name is Christina Noor and I am an accredited fire safety engineer living and working in Australia. Today we will be talking about the National Construction Code. We will define what it is and how compliance is achieved. So let's get started. Before we start, the following needs to be disclaimed. Every effort is made to ensure the accuracy of the information. However, CJK Fire and Safety makes no warranty concerning the accuracy or completeness of the contents of the material and does not accept responsibility for material contained within or linked to this presentation, nor does it assume any legal liability, whether direct or indirect, for the accuracy, comprehensiveness, or usefulness of any information therein. Training courses and information are provided for general education purposes, and any reliance you place on such information is at your own risk. To keep it simple, we will be concentrating on three learning outcomes. Firstly, the BCA and NCC will be defined. Then, we will discuss how compliance with the NCC can be achieved, and finally outline what a performance solution or alternative solution is. The NCC stands for the National Construction Code. It consists of 3 volumes and guide to volume 1. Whilst the guide contains explanations to the BCA clauses contained in volume 1, it is not a mandatory publication and would not generally be accepted by court. The NCC is free to the public and can be accessed through the ABCB website. It is revised every 3 years unless there is an out-of-cycle amendment, which can be published in a more frequent intervals. The NCC is called by the state and territory legislation. As can be seen in this diagram, Volume 1 contains requirements for Class 2 to 9 buildings. This includes multi-residential, commercial, industrial and public uses. Volume 2 deals with Class 1 residential buildings and Class 10 structures, which include carports, garages. Together, Volume 1 and Volume 2 form the BCA. Volume 3 is the Plumbing and Drainage Code and is not subject of this presentation. Compliance with the NCC is demonstrated by showing that NCC performance requirements are met. This can be achieved through a performance solution, a deemed to satisfy solution, or a combination of the two. In this slide, you can see an example that demonstrates the difference between a performance requirement and a deemed to satisfy provision. This, for example, is a performance requirement that deals with path of travel to exits, and it states, so that occupants can safely evacuate the building, path of travel to exits must have dimensions appropriate to the number, mobility and other characteristics of occupants and the function and use of the building. So this tells us that performance requirements give us freedom to design a building in a manner we want, provided that we consider its specific use. So in other words, any design needs to be appropriate for the building use and its occupants. A deemed to satisfy provision, however, gives us very specific requirements of what needs to happen. It basically says, provided you comply with the requirements stated out in those DTS clauses, you comply with the performance requirements of the BCA. So this example, again dealing with path of travel to exit under the DTS provision, states the unobstructed width of each exit or path of travel to an exit, except for doorways, must be not less than 1 meter or 1.8 meters in passageways, corridors or ramps, normally used for the transportation of patients in beds within the treatment area or ward area. Essentially, the same requirement is applicable to a space that would be used by 2 people and by 100 people, whereas using performance requirement, we can design it to be very specific to the proposed use. The traditional approach to the NCC compliance is demonstrated in this flowchart. Talking about a new development, After a concept design is prepared, it is assessed by a BCA consultant who identifies any departure from the DTS provisions. If no departures are identified, the project team can proceed to the final design. If departures are identified, however, the project team may decide to change the design to follow this first path, or to engage a fire safety engineer who would prepare a performance solution demonstrating compliances with performance requirements. The fire engineering can be applied throughout all stages of the life of the building, not necessarily for new builds, but also for refurbishment, change of use, or expansion of buildings. Performance solutions are prepared in form of reports outlining the issue being addressed, scope of works, results of stakeholder consultation, and the assessment itself. The report is prepared by an accredited fire safety engineer in consultation with stakeholders such as architects, approval authorities, fire brigades, and more. The fire engineering report needs to conclude that the proposed design complies with the applicable performance requirements. It needs to comply with the legislative requirements and always be building specific. As we discussed before, a performance-based design needs to consider the building occupancy and use. Therefore, the same solution cannot be applied to various projects. Here we come to the end of the presentation. We have defined the BCA and NCC, discussed how compliance with the NCC is achieved, and learned what performance solutions are. Should you have questions or wish to connect, please find us on social media or email us using the contact details provided. You are also invited to subscribe to our newsletters, which the subscription you'll find on the website, to get notified when new topics come out. Please also do let us know what topics you would like to have covered. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.